Let's start by outlining the main points we'll go over. First, we'll look at the common signs that indicate a plant might be diseased. Next, we'll examine the various types of pathogens that can infect plants. Then we'll explore the different methods used to identify specific plant diseases. Finally, we'll investigate the fascinating physical, chemical, and mechanical defense mechanisms plants use to resist infection. Plants, like all living organisms, are susceptible to diseases. Various pathogens can infect them, including viruses, bacteria, and fungi. We've already learned about tobacco mosaic virus and rose black spot in previous episodes. Plants can also be damaged by insects such as aphids, which feed on plant tissues and cause significant harm. When a plant is infected with a disease, it typically shows visible symptoms. Being able to recognize these signs is the first step in diagnosing plant problems. One common indicator of plant disease is stunted growth. Plants may be smaller than expected or grow more slowly than healthy specimens. This happens when pathogens interfere with the plant's ability to produce energy or transport nutrients. Spots on the leaves are another telltale sign of many plant diseases. These spots may vary in color, size, and pattern depending on the specific pathogen. For example, fungal infections often cause distinctive dark spots on leaves. Some plant diseases cause patches of decay or rot on leaves, stems, or fruits. These areas may appear soft, discolored, or water soaked. Plants suffering from certain diseases may develop malformed stems or leaves that appear twisted, curled, or otherwise abnormal compared to healthy plants. Discoloration is another important sign. Leaves may turn yellow, brown, or other unusual colors when the plant is infected. This happens when diseases affect the plant's ability to produce chlorophyll, or when pathogens damage plant tissues. If you're examining plants for potential insect infestations, careful observation often reveals the pests themselves on the plant. Looking at the undersides of leaves or at stem joints can help spot these unwanted visitors. Once you've detected signs of disease in a plant, the next step is identifying the specific problem. There are several methods for this. One approach is consulting gardening manuals or reliable gardening websites. These resources often include photographs and descriptions of common plant diseases, which can help match observed symptoms to specific pathogens. For more definitive identification, infected plant material can be taken to a laboratory where scientists have specialized equipment and expertise. They can examine samples under microscopes and perform tests to identify the pathogen. Modern testing kits are also available that use monoclonal antibodies to identify specific plant pathogens. These work similarly to the testing kits we discussed in our previous episode. The antibodies bind to particular pathogens, giving a visible result that confirms their presence. It's important to note that not all plant problems are caused by pathogens. Plants also require specific mineral ions from the soil, and deficiencies can sometimes produce symptoms that resemble disease. For example, plants need nitrate ions to make proteins necessary for growth. When nitrates are in short supply, plants often exhibit stunted growth, a symptom that could be mistaken for disease. Similarly, magnesium ions are essential for making chlorophyll, the green pigment needed for photosynthesis. Plants lacking sufficient magnesium may develop yellow leaves, chlorosis, and have reduced ability to photosynthesize. This yellowing might be confused with symptoms caused by certain pathogens. Now, let's explore how plants defend themselves against pathogens and pests. Unlike animals, plants can't run away from threats, so they've evolved sophisticated defense mechanisms. Plants have several physical defenses that act as barriers against pathogens. Most plant leaves and stems have a waxy cuticle that provides a waterproof barrier, making it difficult for pathogens to enter. Beneath this waxy layer, plant cells are surrounded by cell walls made from cellulose. These tough structures form another physical barrier against pathogens that manage to get past the waxy cuticle. Many plants, especially trees, have layers of dead cells around their stems. These form bark, which acts as an additional barrier to stop pathogens entering. If damaged, these outer layers can fall off, removing potential infection sites. Plants also employ chemical defenses. Some plants produce antibacterial chemicals that kill bacteria attempting to infect them. Examples include mint plants and witch hazel, which contain natural antimicrobial compounds. Other plants produce poisons that deter herbivores, organisms that eat plants. Tobacco plants, foxglove, and deadly nightshade all produce toxins that make them unpalatable or even dangerous to potential predators. In addition to physical and chemical defenses, plants have evolved mechanical adaptations to protect themselves. Some plants have adapted to grow thorns and hairs on their surfaces. These structures stop animals from touching and eating them by making the plant difficult or painful to consume. Other plants have evolved to drop their leaves or curl when touched. This response allows them to prevent being eaten by knocking insects off themselves or moving away from threats. Some plants go even further with mimicry as a defense strategy. For example, the bee orchid, Ophrys apifera, has evolved flowers that closely resemble female bees in appearance and even produce similar scents. This tricks male bees into attempting to mate with the flower, facilitating pollination in the process. Another fascinating example is the dead nettle plant, which closely resembles the stinging nettle but doesn't actually produce stinging hairs. By mimicking a harmful plant, it deters herbivores without having to invest energy in producing actual defensive structures. Some desert plants, like living stones, Isoaceae family, have evolved to look almost identical to the rocks and pebbles in their environment, making them nearly invisible to herbivores searching for vegetation to eat. While plants may seem passive, they have sophisticated systems for detecting threats and defending themselves against a hostile world.